Yo, I need to put some gauges in my car. I already put that oil pressure gauge in. I like where that's at. Cute little thing. I don't like the pillar pods. I don't want them up on the dash. I don't want them right here. There's a bezel you can buy for these. I'm too cheap for that though. I want to put them on the corners here. I'm going to try to use the bezel I have. I really don't want to cut this, but I'm going to. I got a chunk of exhaust pipe that's about the right size. That's pretty close. I'm going to try to work with that. All right, let's see what I can ruin. I have a little air saw here. Pretty slick little unit. This plastic likes to melt. I gotta go over it a couple of times. I could use a thicker blade and it'd probably not melt so much. In fact, I think I might. Measure the depth of this thing. 40 millimeters. I think that's where I want this one. I'm going to put that in the dash, see if it fits right. I think I'm going to like that just fine. Fits really nice. In fact, I think it fits better than that aftermarket bezel, because the aftermarket one I think sits up a little farther. So it's out of the way of my gauges. I was thinking about zip tying it down too, but I think I'm just going to use hot glue. I don't like that gray either, so I'm going to put a couple coats of matte black on it. I have an Innovate air fuel meter I basically got for free. I worked on somebody's car and they didn't want it, so I got it. Yes, yes, it's going to be just like that. Nice. I might zip tie this down, but I'm going to throw some hot glue on it first. Because hot glue is awesome. And it stays in there pretty good. Well, there it is. Little hot glue. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. If it does, I'll just use more hot glue. Don't really care for that silver ring around this cheap eBay turbo gauge either, but whatever. Maybe I'll Sharpie it. Now I need to feed some wiring through the firewall wideband. I got my oil pressure line right down there. You can see that. There's a nice hole there that you can use if you want. And there's another one that's behind the clutch master. See if I can see it. There it is, way down there. If I go under the car, it's pretty easy to see. There's a spot right here I can just pull out. And there's the hole right there, and it should be wide enough to get that wideband through. I'm just gonna poke it through with a screwdriver, like so. I bought some 1/2-inch grommets from the hardware store. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be about the same size as that plug. I got my Sharpie after this gauge, so it's black. I painted the gray so it's black. I put a vacuum line on it, a little bit of hairspray, and a couple of zip ties. They had a clear vacuum line for this, and it's just way too cheap. I didn't want to use it. I didn't like it at all. This has got to go outside of the car with my wideband plug, and I need to make some longer wires for the lighting and some longer wires for these because all this stuff's too short. I just got some scrap junk for these light wires. I don't really care too much about them. This is an LED too, so I can't hook it up to my dimmer switch or anything. It's just on all the time. I'm just going to use crimp connectors for this. It's just a stupid light, so I'm not going to get too fancy with it. I actually went out and bought the right colors for these just because I can. I probably didn't need to, but whatever. This yellow is going to my ECU. It's going to Hondata. This is going to be in place of my oxygen sensor, this yellow wire right here. I'm going to delete my factory oxygen sensor, and everything's going to run through this wideband. So I need this wire. This one's really important. I'll be using waterproof connectors to hold this together too. So I don't want anything screwing up on this wire. I'm going to give myself way too much length too. There's probably like 12 or 15 feet there. I powered this light up with the lights off in the garage. It's just too bright. And it's an LED light too, so I can't hook it up with the regular lighting on the inside of my car where it's attached to the dimmer switch because it doesn't dim out. So I got a resistor kit here. I'm just going to try to find a good resistor that's going to work for this to make it dim, so it's dim all the time. Try a 12K first. See what it looks like. That's way too dim. It's barely even on. Obviously, I'm not doing the math. I'm just going through resistors until I... Ooh, that's perfect. I like that. I can see it in the shop with all my lights on, so I'll be able to see it in the car. That's a big difference. I don't like using solder much on electrical connections, but under the circumstances, I'll do it with this one. I shouldn't be using this monster soldering iron on electrical stuff either, but I'm really caring right now. just so long as I didn't melt the resistor, I'll be good. And it's good. That's very light on the eyes. This one has a wire I can hook up to my lights, so when I turn the lights on, it automatically dims. So that one's going to be okay, I think. I have this black wire on the thermostat housing I put on when I assembled the engine. And that's going to be going to my wideband. Then I got these two wires for my Mac boost controller. It doesn't matter which one I use because it's just an on-off solenoid. I'm going to use one red wire and one gray wire. And the gray wire I'm going to put to the ECU. And the red wire's got to be a switched power. All three of these wires I can feed through the same, along with this big fat thing. Yeah, this is my wideband connector. This is where the wideband oxygen sensor gets plugged into. So all this has to get fed through that way too. I'm not going to insulate any of these either. A lot of people like to put wire looms over them or something. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna tuck it really good. Make sure it doesn't rub on anything that might cut into the wire. Here's the wideband. It's got to get plugged into my downpipe, and it's down there somewhere. So I don't know. I gotta fish it through somewhere like that. I'm going to put this grommet on before I forget. I still got to stick a vacuum hose through here too, so I'm not going to stick it in the firewall just yet. Well, there it is. It's in there. I'm going to wire this thing up now. I got to do a lot of stuff under the dash. I'll save you from the boring details. Well, I got all my powers and one ground hooked up to what I think is right. I got two wires to go. I got to hook up to my computer. I'll be putting that in next. I just calibrated this airflow sensor. Let's see if it works. I don't have an oxygen sensor even hooked up to this thing right now. Geez, how long does this take to heat up? There it goes. A little on the rich side. Turn on my headlights. It did dim down, but just a little bit. Barely even noticeable. Huh. Funky. So I just tied all the powers into the fuse box. They say you want to use a relay for the wideband, but there's a clean accessory power right here. I can't imagine there'd be a problem with it. That's how I make fuses. I just make my own. I just take connectors apart, electrical connectors that have the same width as the fuse, and plug them in. And I got an add a fuse here too. That's for the light wire for the wideband. I turn the light switch on and this powers up. So there's actually two fuses on these. You take the fuse out and plug it in and put two fuses in and run it in and out. And then I got I got another fuse here plugged into an accessory power for the driver for the Mac Boost solenoid. I might put it up here. There's still an extra slot in my fuse box up there, but I think it'll work just fine. I'm probably going to test that Mac solenoid in my next video too. I know it's pretty stupid to just plug it in and expect it to work. I'm going to test it and make sure it works the way it's supposed to. That's all the video I'm going to do for now. Okay, bye.